Hey, Costas, how are you today?
Not too bad. Thank you very much, Hunter. How are you doing today?
Excellent. Hey, I love your haircut.
Yeah, it's in the fashion right now,
Right? Yeah.
right?
No, it's a little humor. Hey, when we think of Sophos, what should we think of as a company? I know you're UK based, right? And Tony Young's a good friend of mine. I think he's one of your global CIOs. I've known Tony for 10 years, perhaps one of the top 10 CIOs in all of Silicon Valley.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for me, Sophos, yeah, UK based, based out of Abingdon in Oxford. I think one of the things that I maybe interpreted Sophos as a previous customer was an antivirus company. But if I were to have any sort of takeaway for anybody who isn't familiar with Sophos or maybe don't know us all that well, I really would position us as a leading cybersecurity vendor as a whole, and that's across a number of different products and spaces. So we're not just talking about traditional signature-based antivirus products. We've got full-blown next-generation behavioral-based products, as well as services that go alongside those. And those are native in local on-prem instances, as well as our cloud-based offerings for cloud security, posture management, and similar. So I think that's probably how I would sum us up.
Brilliant. How do you guys constantly innovate and on the edge and bring new products to your clients? How does that happen inside your organization? Because it seems to me you guys have been at this for a while and you're constantly innovating, right?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the best answer for that is to say there's a lot more intelligent people than myself that work in Sophos labs and within our product development and even our product management team. These guys come up with the ideas of what we need to do to protect our customers best. And we're at the forefront. We're seeing real indicators of compromise. We're seeing real attacks. We're talking to customers that go through these things. And I guess, yeah, Sophos has been around since 1985. So not only do we have a raft of experience there, but we've got some of the best brains in the industry. We've got our leading AI team as well, and that they don't just look at the AI from a cybersecurity perspective; they apply it to lots of other aspects as well. So, yeah, I would say lots of clever, very hardworking individuals, powered by a great team to support them. Really.
Hey,
Hey
brilliant. Hey,
Hunter,
yes, go ahead.
I've got a couple of questions for Costa. If you wouldn't mind just passing the baton, if that's good.
Go for it.
Great. So particular interest to me because we've spent some time with you guys with Sophos UK ITL. We've had you speak a few times over the lockdown and been some fascinating stuff. You do your annual State of Ransomware report. Most recent one stating the obvious, State of Ransomware 2021. 5,400 IT professionals, 30 countries. Is there a particular area of focus or anything from that report you'd like to highlight for our audience, Kosta?
Yeah, and hi, Graham. I
Hi.
think for me, having that report, a completely independent report, by the way, for me really helps reinforce some of the things that I talk about with my customers. So I guess sharing nuggets of information from that as well. I think that it's really useful to be able to see this as an agnostic side of things as well, because obviously on a day-to-day perspective, we talk to potential new customers that have got experienced security breaches. Maybe they're existing customers who are struggling to keep up with the IT landscape as a whole. And so for me, that report really starts to marry some of these things up. And some of the key findings for me are things around participants feeling that their workload has increased since the pandemic, and that's for cyber and non-cyber related tasks. The majority of the participants plan to increase either their team size internally or do things like outsource offerings, for example. But also, I think sadly, the majority have experienced an increase in breach attempts over the past year. And I think that massively relates that big shift in where they've had their technology focus. Again, probably historically on-prem, big move to the cloud to support remote working and similar. But yeah, I think the real key takeaways aside from that for me, and the thing that I really do often discuss with my customers is that ransomware as a whole, where I guess traditional file encryption takes place, has gone down. And that seems like a bit of a surprising statistic from us when we're seeing and living and breathing it. But oddly, the people and the organizations being held to ransom, the proportion of those have gone up due to forms of extortion. So clearly, ransomware protection's gotten better in recent years if we're protecting against those file encryption types. And clearly, maybe organizations are now better at implementing those solutions to help protect them. But with extortion going up, I think it really shows that cyber criminals, gangs, they're doing their very best to find ways in which to steal an organization's data and IP in unconventional ways. And so really, the main takeaway is that there's always still ways that we can do more to prevent these types of attacks. And so as a wake-up call for me, and again, anybody else who is listening as well, I feel that there's always so much more we can do, but awareness is a big factor for me. And so ultimately, I think that's why we released the report in the first place.
Great, scary, but interesting. Just following that thread, then, do you feel every organisation needs to go as far as a full incident response plan? Is there a line of investment versus return that organisations can draw? Do you have some thoughts around that?
Yeah, I do. Incident response plans, I think now, if you've ever experienced a breach, you'll know exactly what it's like and why you need an incident response plan. If I can maybe summarize it, without one, you're almost literally firefighting without knowing where your fire extinguishers are. You don't know where the emergency escapes are. Maybe you don't even know the number for the emergency services. I know that sounds very silly, but I don't think I can overstate my point here. If you don't have an incident response plan, then you don't know what you will need to do. You don't know where your main contacts lie. And so if you don't have one, I very much encourage organizations to create one. There's a great template on the Sophos website. But if you do have one, make sure that you're running tabletop exercises that are aligned with it on a regular basis. The NCSE in the UK have their own tabletop exercises in a box as well. So again, some great resources that we can leverage as vendors as well as customers and organizations. So yeah, I do think incident response plans are really, really important. I think your second part of the question there, the investment versus return, I think this will always be a bit of an uphill battle. I guess with justification to board members and the business as to why security seemingly constantly needs more investment. And it's not just security as a whole, IT as a whole needs more investment. We just put a load of servers in our data center, and now you're telling me I need to pay monthly to put them in one of the cloud providers, for example. And I think that it can always feel that there's that almost never-ending investment in security. But the question does have to be asked is, what is the risk if you don't spend that or don't invest the time or invest in your business to have the security capabilities in-house? You could potentially find yourself where there's a suspicious event takes place early in the morning, late at night, bank holiday. If that event goes unchecked for whatever reason, where does that risk versus reward now start to stack up? We consider a potential ransomware fallout, the potential fallout from reputation, data loss, the cost to recover, and then the potential retrospective investment in additional security. The last thing that I would want to see any customer of mine doing is having to spend money twice, effectively. The one stage to recover and the second point to then buy the solution to prevent that from happening again. I often talk about my experience from when I used to work in the NHS, and we dealt with WannaCry at the time. And I guess post WannaCry, nobody was interested in behavioral-based or encryption protection-based technologies. But then post WannaCry, everybody needed it. Everybody wanted it. And that's that same trend that we're seeing today. We're moving away from AV, antivirus, because we're not just dealing with viruses. We're looking at security products and tool sets, EDR, endpoint detection and response, XDR for extended detection and response. And then you've got the managed versions of those solutions on the rise, so being outsourced. We're seeing them as a trend because the attacks that we see warrant them. So yeah, I think if we really try to draw a line, we might be almost cutting off our nose to spite our face, as it were. I think these investments are definitely required to help deal with these modern threats.
Final question then, Kosta, conscious of time. Great to have you here. Just to give you an opportunity to shine a light on Sophos itself. Why would you be the right place for an organization? Would you be the right place for an organization to lean on for preemptive managed security or even the rapid response incident response service? Do you want to shine a light on either or both of those?
Yeah, it's a great question. So our preemptive managed security comes from our managed threat response service and team, a dedicated team of cybersecurity specialists who proactively threat hunt, and it's in the name as well, respond to threats on behalf of customers. And then you've got the other piece there that you mentioned, the rapid response service. That's our incident response service for those who aren't under the managed threat response service. Why would we as a vendor be a good place? Well, I guess we started that conversation with Hunter. Been in the game since 1985. Sophos has got a rich history of being very good at the protections that it offers. And we've always been able to not only keep up with the curve, but be ahead of it. But I think one of the big differentiators for me is we've got humans that are part of those teams, so they're able to apply business context. And those are battle-hardened humans. You know, these are cybersecurity specialists that live and breathe this stuff. They love the work that they do, and it's their key interest. But the other part of that is leaning on the rich heritage that Sophos brings. We're one of few vendors that offers a tier 1 threat intelligence lab, and our services lean on those. So as and when they do discover new indicators of compromise or attack, they can send those telemetry points to a team of 500-600 staff who are focused now on the malware reverse engineering, and they can really then focus on providing the best protection out of anything that's discovered there and re-engineer that back into our product set. So, you know, it's this continual improvement loop that helps us stay where we are and helps mean that we can deliver such a high level of security. So, yeah, that's why I think we could be the right vendor for this type of managed security piece.
Brilliant. Thank you. A great session. Some real insight. Thank you. Thanks, Kosta.
For more information, please visit hmgstrategy.com and keep up to date by following us on our social media platforms. Thank you.